Andrew, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. You are the CEO of acquire.com. And before we start our entire conversation, I want you to, first of all, I want to welcome you. And if you want to introduce yourself, introduce the company, what you do, who you guys are, so that we can start our conversation.
Yeah, sure. Super excited to be here. Thanks again for the invite. Name is Andrew Gazdecki. I am the CEO and founder of Acquire.com, and we are a marketplace to buy and sell software companies, as well as e-commerce agencies, mobile apps, mainly online businesses.
I love it. Andrew, how long have you had acquire.com? How did you come up with the idea? And how were the first few years? And where are you guys now?
Yeah, I've been running it about 5 years, which is like 50 years in startup land. It's a long, long time, I guess. I got the idea after selling a startup of my own previously. I bootstrapped a SaaS company to about 10 million bucks, and then I sold that to a private equity firm. Going through the process, I had no idea what I was doing. It was really hard to find buyers. There's this process called due diligence. I found that really frustrating. So I just thought it'd be really interesting to build a marketplace where all the buyers already exist. And if you want to sell your business, you can easily make a listing and start connecting with them. And then
I
your
love it.
last question, how were the first couple years? I started the company myself pre AI, so I was doing literally everything the first year: customer support, design, all the marketing, all the sales, all the onboarding. And then now our team is about 18. And it's been a super fun
Wow.
ride.
I love it. I love it. And I thank you for mentioning that you were alone for the first few years, because sometimes people who want to get started while building a business, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what should people focus on right now to build good sellable businesses. But a lot of people think that if they don't have a huge team, they can't really do anything on their own. And I personally, at my company, have a really tiny team, and we've been doing insane work as well. And you started your company on your own, and I know a lot of amazing companies. And lately, there's Pat Walls, who sold Starter Story to HubSpot, and he started on his own as well. So, what would you say? What would you like to say to people who are afraid to start on their own?
Probably a couple things. Number one, you don't need a big team. Big teams are overrated. You get way more done, surprisingly, with a smaller team. So that's to your advantage. And I think the second thing is when you come to actually building out a team, you want to be in a place where you've done support, you've done marketing, you've done the sales process. I know it's a lot to do all at once, but it helps you understand what you really need in the role and what success looks like. And it's how it goes. You got to grind through those early days. I guess my last point there would be, we see a lot of businesses with super small teams and they do really, really well. There was one recently with just two people as one founder and someone who came in the business a little bit after that, sold for a few million bucks, owned the whole thing, and that was a really great outcome for them. So I think that type of story is becoming more and more common.
It is, especially in the age of AI. I bet you guys are seeing a lot more people come to you with companies that they have built very fast, and I mean, at least faster than what it used to take to build an entire company.
Yeah.
But so for all the young entrepreneurs, the new entrepreneurs, the ones that are just getting started, they want to get started, and they don't know much about what it takes to sell their company. What are the most important, most prominent pieces of advice you would give somebody who is aiming or who really would like to sell their company at some point in their lives? What are things that usually people don't think about, they don't probably know as new people getting into business?
Sure. The basics are you got to have a good company to begin with. I think that's probably obvious for everybody, but you want to be growing fast, ideally profitable, good product, happy customers, good brand, low churn, stuff like that. Just build a great business. And then the second part would be uh, have your ducks in order. So put together a mini data room, have a clean P&L statement. A lot of founders overlook the P&L part because it's kind of boring and most founders aren't like finance experts. But it's literally required from buyers to be able to assess the health of your business. Um, I had a small investor in my first company. He gave me a piece of advice before we sold. I was really hesitant to hire a finance person or get a formal accountant or anything like that. We had like a bookkeeper part time. And he said, just hire a VP of finance. It'll make the purchase price of the business go up like 20% just from the goodwill you'll have with buyers. And he was right. Just having clean numbers and making the business easy to understand, it pays dividends. And then another piece would be, if you're looking to sell the business, understand who buys companies and why they buy them. That's a big one that we explain all the time at Acquire. A lot of founders just show up and they're like, this is like 30 times revenue. That's what it's worth. And we walk them through like, okay, well, how is a buyer going to, see their money back on this? Are they going to take the cash flow from the unprofitable business and grow your company like 100x? And that's how they see it. It's typically done through cash flow. For example, a lot of buyers will pay, 4 to 8 times net profit. And what they're doing is they're putting cash up front and then they're going to recoup their investment over 4 to 8 years with the cash flow risk adjusted. So just put yourself in the shoes of a buyer. What reasons do they have to buy the business? So get valuation correct. That's another big one. And then if you can, start delegating as much as possible. If you're doing everything in the business, that can be a really hard company to sell, because if you leave the company, then everything could fall apart.
True.
That was a
And
lot. That was a
you know,
lot. I hope that was
no, that
helpful.
was that was awesome. And that was an awesome transition because my next question was going to be about key man risk and the presence of the founder. And usually, so we are seeing right now, and this is something I'm personally advocating for as well on social media, which is it's very important for the success of a business. I mean, at least a startup, for the founder or somebody on the core team to have a personal brand and be front facing. Is it usually a plus or is it a con that investors don't really like?
It's a huge minus.
Is it a huge,
And
oh
I'm
my
saying it
God.
from direct experience because, I have a nice sized personal brand for Acquire, and, it definitely doesn't help and it doesn't hurt at the same time. For example, if you,
Okay.
let's say you do have a large personal brand, and we have dealt with this situation quite a bit. You have a large personal brand, you are the reason a lot of new business shows up. You drive a lot of the leads through your social posts. I would just expect a large earnout when you sell the business for
Mm.
typically 12 months, 12 18 months, because the buyer again is trying to de-risk their acquisition. If they see you driving all the leads and then something happens, you leave, and the business declines because of that, that's going to be a terrible acquisition for them. So when you go to sell, I would just expect some sort of agreement with the buyer where you stay around and continue to do social media marketing. And then even better is diversifying your lead sources. So if you're getting all your leads from referrals that you have, or again, social media, if you can get other channels to work to diversify that mix, that'd be even better.
I like it. So it's not really the fact that a founder has a personal brand, but it's the risk that comes with it, which is the key man risk that we talked about,
Yeah.
which is what will happen if that person leaves. So if this founder is present, and then a lot of people have been talking about acqui hires, where like just like what happened with TBPN and OpenAI, they hired them, but they have them stay in place. It's a bit different because it's a podcast. It's
Yeah.
not like a tech startup or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, and I like that, and I think it's going to benefit a lot of people. But
Yeah. Again,
another,
another point on
yeah,
that too is, again, putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer as much as possible. It can be like selling a business and you're like, as soon as you buy it, like the SEO might completely shut off and it drives 80% of leads. I'm just replacing that as an example. And so they're going to do whatever they can to keep that component in place. So you would just want to address it with buyers.
yeah, makes sense. It has to be a win-win at the end of the day, and sometimes I
Exactly.
feel like sellers tend to forget that for for a little while. So when we talk about selling a business, we always hear that having enterprise value is very important. And part of having enterprise value is being able to have the business run whether you are here or not. And this is separate from a personal brand. It's just one person being the rainmaker all the time. What piece of advice or maybe a little hack you would give people to be able to build enterprise value early on and start thinking with that mindset?
Start delegating. 100%, because you're completely correct. If the business runs only because you work 24/7 and you put in 80 hours and the business stays together, that's not really a business that you're selling, it's a job. And so it's a harder sale, or so it's harder to convince buyers to buy that business, because as soon as they acquire the business, they're going to have to step in and start doing a bunch of customer support questions or maintaining the product or whatever it may be that you do as a founder. And it's also just good for your well-being. Like, there's so many benefits where the valuation will go up, so you'll make more money. Two, the business will probably grow faster because you're not doing everything and you free up your own time to work on the most important stuff. And then it's far easier to sell, so much easier to sell. So that's another key thing that we recommend to founders before they go try to find buyers is build out a small team. You can hire people from anywhere in the world today with remote work. There's great people everywhere. You can document what you do during the day to keep the business afloat, and start handing those tasks over to someone else.
I love it. I love it. Andrew, what is one thing that you've done? Because you said you started out alone, you built the entire thing before like AI that is able to code was existed, and now you have a team, and now you have a huge personal brand yourself, and your company is very trusted. So I wanted to ask you, what was one hack or one lesson that you faced or learned that changed the course of your business, like a lot, by a whole lot, like a mistake that you used to make, and then somebody gave you a piece of advice. It's one thing that you changed that really saved your life.
Um, I could tell you a good bet that we made at Acquire Early. That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's not necessarily a mistake I made, but my previous company, I've always been in charge of our go to market with, brand and marketing. And with that company, the strategy was very press heavy. It was get into TechCrunch. It was, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and we were in all the publications, and it was really effective. And what I saw change, especially during COVID, was Twitter was becoming more popular with founders posting about their businesses, LinkedIn too. In 2016, 2015, no one was doing that. Literally, no one was posting on social media. It was like weird if you did. And so I thought, I think it'd be interesting if you started sharing your company's story all the time. And so that's why I, went, heavy on my personal brand. And I post on Shoulders a lot because I think people want to, hear from companies. And now we see everybody doing it. We see literally everyone posting on social media. But I think that was a key shift I kind of saw. I'm not taking credit for anything like that, but
And being early pays off. Being early pays off
I used to
always.
have this whiteboard that outlined the social media strategy right next to me in my office here, and it would say like brand voice, social media, post on Twitter, a few times a day, LinkedIn, and that was kind of the whole strategy. It was instead of going to press, because press can only tell your story so many times, and you want to control that. So that was a big one, and I think another one was a large portion of our customers are, bootstrap SaaS founders. They're looking to sell for a couple $1,000,000 or even a few 100,000 or less. And I was that founder before, so I understood their problems and what it was like to be a founder like that. So I think anytime you're able to put yourself in the shoes of your customer is also great. Um, yeah, does that work? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, it did. Even the first part did, because
Oh,
sometimes leveraging being early somewhere is extremely important, and this is what happened to me. This is exactly why I have 42,000 followers on X. Both times was because I was early. The first time because I was early to Twitter Spaces, and then I was early to a specific ecosystem,
yeah,
in
you
an
got to be
industry that
early.
I'm. Yeah.
Yeah, being early and seeing shifts in technology or marketing or strategy or whatever it may be has always been huge. But in terms of like I haven't really made too many huge mistakes at this company. I know that is probably false, but nothing like really comes to mind. And I think it's because I started a company previously, made literally every mistake
Yeah.
you possibly could. Um, so yeah.
So I still have two questions. The first one of those last two questions would be, at what point is it ideal for a startup founder to come to you guys at Acquire and decide to sell? Like, what is the minimum that they need to have reached before they should actually come to you guys? Like, is there any requirements, minimal numbers that they should reach?
Yeah, great question. No, we list businesses that are pre-revenue, just the product and it's well
Cool.
built and it looks interesting. We're very selective with those businesses because they're very hard to sell. And we always recommend to founders to try and get any sort of traction if you can. That can be, users, ideally revenue, ideally the business is profitable, ideally it's growing. The more you're able to achieve in terms of traction, the better your outcome is going to be. But our typical seller profile is going to be a founder that's doing, say a few 100,000 to a million a year in revenue, or two or three or four or five, and then profitable by, six figures to upwards to a million.
Nice. Fair. And what is the best type of business that usually gets the most success at this point, like in 2026, 2025, 2026?
It's ones that are in super boring industries where it's a niche industry where there was a business that we helped sell just this week that was selling to the SMB space, a specific niche in that space. And that business was really interesting. It had low churn, really happy customers. It was very clear where leads were coming from. The founder wasn't in charge of everything every single day. It was just a great business. Again, building and
Cool.
selling a business isn't necessarily rocket science. It's just building something that's durable and doesn't seem like it can be something that falls apart within months after buying it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And this is something super important because a lot of times you see people just trying to look for the coolest types of businesses, like starting a fashion brand or starting this tool that everybody is going to use. But oftentimes, and shout out Cody Sanchez, she talks about that all the time, which is the boring businesses are where a lot of money is made. And you just proved that point
Yeah,
as well. So love
100%.
it. And the final question is a question I'm super excited for because this has been a battle on social media for the past few months. Currently, in this day and age of AI, people can build things super quickly. However, it doesn't mean that quality is going to always be high. However, a lot of people are going, there's a school that's going product is the moat, and there's another school that's going distribution and marketing are more important. I know both are very important, but if you had to prioritize one, would it be a very well polished product or would it be very loud marketing, very successful marketing?
Very loud and successful marketing, hands down. I think it's always been
Okay.
the moat, 100%. Because if you have really loud and successful marketing, you can usually get a few customers. You can get feedback from those customers. You can use the revenue from those customers to then improve the product. I've unfortunately just seen way too many amazing products with absolutely zero users and zero revenue. If anything, I could probably go as far as saying I have the perfect lens to answer a question like that. There's always exceptions where you could build, say, a world changing, world class product, and people will start doing the marketing for you. But the chances of building that are just so odd, if so low, if not impossible. And so, if you're looking to build a business, I think you'd be foolish not to try and figure out some way to have some advantage for marketing and distribution. At my previous company and this one too, I always would tell my team, we want to innovate on the product, but we want to also innovate on the distribution strategy too. We want to be thinking of new ways to reach customers and new ways to stand out. I think people just see them as so binary. Like you just do marketing, that's it. But you can be really creative with marketing and very innovative with marketing, and that can sometimes be the most effective marketing.
I love it. Andrew, thank you so much. I think all of these answers are really going to help a new generation of business founders and business people that are getting started. Is there anything you would want to add? How can they visit you guys? Do you want to mention the website? Anything you want to talk about? And any announcement, anything, please go ahead. And then we'll wrap this up.
Yeah, just go to acquire.com, check it out. And if you have a business you're looking to sell, feel free to reach out to me directly, Andrew at acquire.com.
Absolutely. I love it. Andrew, thank you so much for being here and hope to see you soon. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did.
Truly enjoyed it. Thanks again for having me.
Of course, thank you for coming. See you guys.